Welcome, friends. It's nighttime here. We had a great weekend and enjoyed celebrating Easter. So glad we got to celebrate with some friends over here in Malaysia. I have a bunch of videos that I'm working on, but it's taking a lot of time, and most of you know I'm short on time right now. But that's okay. The videos will come out as they're available, and I'm just glad to keep reading all of your comments, and I miss going on lives with you guys. Tonight, I'm happy to put out this short video about a super recent Ask Me Anything I found on Reddit. A young ex-church member speaks out about her thoughts and interactions with the Duggars, as well as her opinion about the IBLP. Wow, people are really coming out of the woodwork when it comes to the IBLP now, friends. I wonder who will be next. Did you see online that the IBLP is officially closing their Advanced Training Institute? Interesting that David Waller just left his position at ATI this past year, like he knew it was coming. So maybe there's some movement in the right direction in this community. I'm not sure. Or maybe people are just going underground. For a little background on this church member, she says her family was heavily involved in the IBLP until her father started cheating on her mom. The member, who I will name Lily, says her mother went to people in the church asking for help. No help was found, and there was just a hardcore push for her mom to ignore, forgive, and move on. Lily, her mom, and siblings left the church, so they have a bit of a different perspective than those who stayed in. Lily has a unique and interesting voice about the Duggars. She describes herself as being Justin Duggar's age, so just a baby in my eyes. She has some interesting thoughts, and she uses some negative terms about the Duggars, including the B word. I will be covering up some of the language so that I meet the YouTube standards. And here we go with Lily's bio. Lily starts out with, "Hey y'all. Before I start out, I just want to give a huge shout out to the mods for being so accommodating and communicating so well with me. Y'all are the best. Keep kicking some A. A few of you may remember me. I panic deleted my account after getting some backlash for an insider post I made. It is I, Post Malone B, in the flesh. Because of the response from that post, I won't be discussing Lauren or anything that happened in the post. I hope you all can respect that. A little background for you all. I grew up in IBLP, did wisdom booklets as part of school. Yep, homeschooled through my senior year of high school. Have been through all of Gothard's seminars. Have been to the conferences and family camps. Been to TTH, the Duggars Church. Been to the Halts way too many times. And in all have been immersed in Fundyland for far too long. I have since broken away along with many additional former fundies, but I enjoy the snark more than I like to admit. Recently, I've been realizing how much of my thought patterns still reflect fundamentalist ideologies. My last AMA was so fun and validating for my past trauma. So I also want to give all of you a shout out for helping me deconstruct through Reddit of all places. Y'all are dope. Another side note, I'm a very scatterbrained person. Some of my answers may be a little haphazard, and more information tends to come on me after I've already answered the questions, so please bear with me. With all that being said, let loose. Literally ask me anything. Nothing is off limits, besides Lauren. A side note, I have not been around the Duggars post-trial at all, so I'm not qualified to answer questions that I don't have answers to, which is basically anything post-trial. The last time I was around them in person was in 2015 after the Ashley Madison scandal broke. Okay, so in the past, Lily has posted before on Reddit and actually on Tumblr as well a couple of different times. I don't know everything she had to say in the past that made her want to delete her posts, but I know that in this conversation she talks about sexuality and people maybe being gay or maybe not. And I think that that's something that's usually not allowed in Duggar Snark Reddit posts. So it's possible that she would have gotten a lot of backlash from that if she spoke about it before. But I'm not 100% sure what she had to say about Lauren and Josiah. She does say somewhere in this AMA that she thinks they're pretty happy together at this point. Question: are you still in contact with any of the Duggars? Do they know about the sub? Response: haha, they know about this sub. I've heard Anna does her fair share of stalking on here. So hi, Anna. Question, do they know who you are? Response, haha, no, I fly under the radar quite well, and with the amount of people they've had in their home, I could be anyone. I noticed that after this question, many people started responding, Anna, we're here for you if you're reading this. So, there were a lot of people who were surprised to hear that she might look up the subreddit, and they started saying, like, you're not alone, we're here for you, we can help you. And I do think people within that group, there are some people who snark really hard, and there are definitely also people who do care about the women and the victims of the IBLP. Question, which Duggar kid will most likely break away from the cult? Response, Jason or James, I always forget which one. # lost boy problems. This is so funny because now I get to speak about Jason. So just a couple days ago, Jason put out on his Instagram, Jason often goes by Jace. So Jason put out on his Instagram that he's basically moved into a small treehouse that he built. And I am so impressed with it. I find it really cool. I'm going to read to you about it from The Sun because I thought it was really interesting. Taking to Instagram, Jason21 gave his fans a tour of the luxurious treehouse, which he calls the Pad. Inside, the living room features plenty of natural sunlight and stunning views of the Arkansas countryside. A small kitchenette area boasts a coffee maker, a mini fridge, and a water cooler. The loft also features Wi-Fi, and Jason has coordinated his office area to make the most of the perfect views. Upstairs, there's a cozy bedroom, plush with a complete rug and plenty of room for his clothes and ball caps. Eagle-eyed fans notice that something vital is missing from the idyllic space. Wait, there is no bathroom or shower, one fan pointed out. Although it may be somewhat compromised on facilities, the treehouse still looks like an ideal space for outdoors lover Jason to escape. And given that he makes his living as a master builder, it's very likely that he did much of the impressive work himself. So apparently Jason has done a really good job building houses, farmhouses, and selling them. He's made some good money off of it, and he helps other people in the family with their homes as well. Of course, I feel kind of bad that Jason, I don't know, at least he's living away from home. I'm glad to see that he moved out of the house because a lot of the boys and girls, especially Jana, are supposedly still living in the home in the bedroom that they grew up in. I think the treehouse looks so cute. I can't tell for sure if it's on the Duggars' land or not. I'm assuming that it is. But I'm glad that Jason, he seems, from what I've read about him, people say that he's a very nice guy, and it seems like he's kind of become one of the most independent men in the family as far as, he's done really well for himself financially pretty early on. Okay, so I thought I would just take that opportunity to mention the treehouse. Maybe Jason will be one of the kids who kind of gets away and does his own thing. Okay guys, here's a really interesting one. Question, do you think Anna will ever be able to distance herself and get some help to deal with the trauma of who she was married off to? Response, Anna's actually quite a savage. She can't stand her in-laws, but they're providing for her right now, so she sticks around. I know she's the one who seems best at keeping sweet, but she'll fight a bee in private. Question, can you give us more insight into saying that Anna's a savage? I feel like there's so much more there. Do you have any specific examples you would be able to share? Also, I think you're incredible for what you're doing. I love your strength. Response. She was sitting with the babysitter for her kids talking mad S about how much she was annoyed with Laura and Jana. Also, she's been talking mad S about this subreddit. Can't give details because it would expose a few things, but Anna is a no BS kind of woman when it comes to drama. When it comes to pests, I can't really say anything. Besides, she thinks he's innocent. I found this really interesting, this version of Anna. I will keep in mind that this ex-church member, Lily, is quite young. She says she's around Justin's age, which puts her around 19 or 20, and I can see how being a lot younger than Anna and kind of growing up around her and watching her go through everything with the Ashley Madison scandal, how you might get a version of Anna that comes off as quite the B word. She's been through a lot. She's older than you. She's dealing with raising her kids and Josh doing all this crazy crap. She probably came off as being frustrated. It's interesting to hear that Anna has been kind of bad-mouthing her mother-in-law and father-in-law. We've heard that from other people too. I'm not 100% sure if it's true. Again, this ex-church member, Lily, hasn't been around them, so she's probably hearing it from other people in the community. I always take everything that's said with a grain of salt, but it is quite interesting. Question: do you have any idea what the current thought process in IBLP is towards Pest Duggar family in general, and Pest is Josh? Do you know how Anna is actually reacting? Is she actually standing by him firmly, or is there some serious doubt that Jim Bob and Mish are trying to stifle? Thank you for doing this. Response: everyone in their tight circle believes his innocence due to more to the story, like Anna said. There is technically more to the story, but Josh is guilty point blank, period. Basically, everyone there thinks he was framed, especially Anna, I'm sure. Question: do you agree with us snarkers that Jana is pretty much running the show over at the big house, or do you think Michelle and Jim Bob and Anna actually do their fair share of parenting and chores around the house? Response: since all the kids are older, there's not much of a show to run. I'm sure Jana does a fair share of work, but it's nothing like everyone speculates. And this question goes back to Anna believing in Josh's innocence. Question: is there any motive they're spreading as to why the city of Tawnytown is quote-unquote framing him? Is there also any whispering still about Joe Biden having something to do with him finally facing justice? Response: psh, yeah, I don't know where the Biden thing came from. I don't want to get sued, but basically Josh was suing Tawnytown and then he got raided. You can message me for more info. And this ex-church member, Lily, did say that she's considering going on a podcast called Leaving Eden, which is hosted by Sadie Carpenter. She talks about it a little bit in the AMA, so maybe she will be able to give more information when she goes on to do an interview with Sadie. Question: do you know if the Volos want to stay in California when Jeremy finishes school, or will they get out of there? Response: psh, no, they're, and I can't say what she says for YouTube purposes, but she just says that they're really into staying in LA. And I've talked about this before. I do think that Jeremy and Ginger are very devoted to living in Los Angeles. Okay, we're going to get into a couple of questions about Jana. And for me, being the eldest daughter in my family, I can really relate to Jana, and I feel a lot of empathy towards her. But this ex-church member doesn't have the nicest things to say about Jana. So here we go. Question: people here tend to say Jana is the real mom, but I always doubt it. She seems more of I'll delegate this to anyone who crosses my way today type of person. Any thoughts, especially because you said you can't stand her? Response: oh yeah, she's a delegator. Why do any of the actual work when you can delegate to 2,827 little people who have to listen to you because you're their sister mom? I kind of wonder if Lily might be one of the younger kids in her family as well, and she's dealt with an older sister who is kind of overbearing, because she definitely doesn't have the best things to say about Jana. And here's what she really thinks about Jana, folks. Question: what is Jana up to these days? Response: doing Jana things. She's a B, and her best friend Laura DeMace is an even bigger B. Okay, a little bit later in the AMA, this poster goes on to speculate that Jana is probably gay. Question: is Jana's B-ness a possible contributing factor to the reason she isn't married? What's the deal with that? Sister mom for life? Response: this is going to be controversial, but me and a few others who escaped don't exactly think Jana is into men. Okay guys, so if you're not super into the Duggars like me, you may not know who Laura DeMace is. She is basically Jana's best friend, and there are pictures of her with Jana everywhere. She also helps school the children in the big house, at least allegedly. She's in and out of the Duggar home constantly, and there's a lot of speculation about whether or not Jana and Laura might have a personal relationship with each other that goes beyond friendship. I personally have never thought that this was the case because Laura has actually been found to be very entrenched in the IBLP. She attended ATI, was close with Gothard and people who were high ranking in the IBLP, and she has worked extensively for the IBLP. So I think Jana and Laura are just considered kind of unusual because they haven't gotten married and they're quite a bit older and they haven't had children. So I could see how many people within the community and outside the community would question what's going on with them and ask questions about their sexuality. I don't know what to think, and I guess I'll never know until Jana comes out and tells us what's up with her life. Question. Is Josie really the golden miracle child, or has she been lost in the shuffle like the rest? Response. My homie Josie lost in the shuffle. Poor Josie. Okay, and here Lily goes on to talk about the personalities of the rest of the older girls. Question. Okay, that's interesting. So of all the Duggar girls, who is the sweetest and who is the B-est? Response. Joy is the sweetest, Jana is the worst. Question, just to round off the older daughters, how about Jill and Ginger? If Jana is the B-est, Joy is the nicest, Jessa's nice, where do Jill and Ginger fit into that? Response, Jill's so sweet. Ginge is sweet, but very reserved and also sarcastic. Question, in the sermons at church, do the preachers talk a lot of politics? Response, they're lightly talked about, mainly using analogies instead of direct comments. Question, is Bobby Holt going to write a book? What tea is she likely to spill about the whole cult? Response, it's a total possibility. I think she'll decide against it though. Question, Joanna's dude, the guy from Alabama who is an insurrectionist, tell us about his family. Response, who? And I don't know who they're talking about here with Joanna. I hope that's not true. Lily goes on to spill a little bit of tea about Justin and Claire that I thought was interesting. I hadn't heard of it before. Question, please do share the tea on Justin cheating on Claire. I'm quite thirsty this morning. Response, the whole Justin thing wasn't too awful by normal people's standards, but by Fundy standards it was off the charts. It was only a few days after Claire and Justin started officially courting. For those of you that are reading this comment and missing the discussion yesterday, someone walked in on Justin canoodling with an andreg girl on a couch just a few short days after beginning a relationship. So then another Reddit user comes in to ask a question about the whole Justin and Claire thing, and the question is, what counts as canoodling in Fundy world? In my head, that means kissing, but I also recognize it could be sitting too close together on a couch. Response, yeah, basically just sitting down cuddling on a couch, perhaps an arm around the other. Aw, poor Justin and Claire. They're such little kids in my eyes and got married so young. I'm sure that something small would have been a big deal to them, but just interesting to hear about it. I guess so many things reverberate throughout the community and everyone talks to each other about what's going on in these royal Fundy families. Question, I keep hearing Jed and Kathy were arranged. Response, not to my knowledge. I think the other thing is with how quick relationships tend to progress in Fundyland, it's easy to assume they're arranged when really they just want to be together. I found this question pretty interesting. It's about my girl Joy, who I always hope will find endless happiness. I really love her. And the question was asking whether or not Joy would ever leave the IBLP. And the response is, nah, Joy's in it for the long haul. Her and Austin are genuinely happy, besides the medical debt they're in. And then someone asks, what is the medical debt from? And Lily just responds that she has been told that they're in some kind of medical debt having to do with one of Joy's pregnancies when she had to go to the hospital. And I know I've brought this up before, that I've read and researched that several women in the fundy community, because they don't have insurance, they won't carry insurance, and that's frowned upon by the church in certain circles. They can end up owing a lot of money if they give birth and anything goes wrong, or they have some kind of help that they need from the hospital during the birth. Okay guys, and this is the last question I'm going to do from Lily. There are a few more questions on the Reddit sub. I'll link it below if you want to check it out, but these are the most interesting questions in my opinion. Question: how accurate is the sub with our takes on personalities and relationships? Are we fairly intuitive or way off? Response: a lot of things y'all are spot on with, others are way off, just depends. I can't give a clear example, but if I see it on posts, I try to comment with info I know, but I tend to get downvoted because of it. And then she laughs. Alright guys, that's the end of Lily's AMA of what I'm going to share here. You can always check out Reddit for more. Sharing this little picture of Sugar for those of you who have been asking, the little runt kitten we've been taking care of. Unfortunately, he has another eye infection and we haven't been able to find an adopter for him. So we're just taking care of him, cleaning his eye out, and here's my little guy hanging out with Sugar. They're the best of friends for now. Thank you so much for checking out this video. I'm thinking of all you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful Easter weekend, whether you celebrate or not. Just spend some time with your family and enjoy the change into spring.